So the first question that's really interesting to hear from everybody is, where are you? If you just want to write into the chat where you actually are at the moment. And let's see what the variation of that is. You can put cities or villages in if you want, whatever. Cyprus, Bangor, North Wales, Athens, Greece, Prague, Finland. We've got quite a few coming in. So that's a really interesting. North Wales again. Denmark, Estonia, Bolzano. Buongiorno, Bolzano. That's great. The other thing we thought would be really interesting was to actually find out what you're looking for in these sessions. So my colleague, Elisabetta, who you've heard now, Elisabetta Lapadula, she's going to place a link in the chat. In that chat in the browser of your computer or your phone or whatever you're using, just put your name in if you want to. You don't need to add your name. And there's a question, what are you hoping for from the SEYO SummerFest? Ideally 1 word, maximum of 3 words, let's say. And let's just put a kind of, let's see what people are actually looking for. So let's give this a minute for you to do that. And Elisabetta will tell us when we've got a few of those in, few words, and we can see what's actually pushing everybody to be here today. I'm going to hand over this bit to you, Elisabetta. Let us know when you're ready, and you can just show us. Hopefully, we can just generate a nice little word cloud.
Yeah, they're coming in.
Great.
So we have lots of joy, inspiration, new ideas, connect with each other, connection, networking, lots of answers.
Great. Very good. Okay, that gives us an idea of what we're trying to do. And now I'd like to actually hand over to Elisabetta and also to Sasha Strelkova. And Sasha and Elisabetta are going to talk through how you can get in touch with attendees, how you can help spread the word about the events, and how the tech side of the SummerFest is going to work. So over to you, Sasha.
Hello, thank you, Marshall. And welcome everyone to the Systema Europe SummerFest. My name is Sasha. I'm speaking to you from Prague, just a few meters actually from the famous clock tower. But I'm here to tell you about something else. I'm here to tell you about how to spread the word, share your participation, as well as perhaps, share some moments that you find inspiring with your community online, etc. In case you're interested in sharing, which I hope you are. Some of you may be watching this from Facebook Live. If you are, I'm not sure if we are live right now, but if not, then that's fine. If yes, hello and welcome again. But all the other sessions, they are based upon registration. So those of you who haven't done so, you can go to systemaeurope.org and you can find the link and then register. I think this is basically the bottom line of everything. Everything will be on registration, but it's free, obviously, as you know. Otherwise, you will find daily updates on Facebook, also on the Facebook event, which you will find under Systema Europe Youth Orchestra Facebook page. And then you also have Systema Europe Twitter. Ali, can I ask you for the other slide? Yeah. And then obviously you have the Instagram, which is SEYO Orchestra. So you can connect with that. Obviously we'll be doing some updates every day. You will find the program of that day, and you will also find some follow-ups on like what's been going on, etc. So you don't lose and you don't miss out on anything. In terms of hashtags, obviously, if you are sharing anything with your audience, it would be great if you could use SEYO 2021 or SEYO SummerFest 2021. That would be great, because then we can assemble everything together and put some best moments. So, I mean, obviously it is Zoom, but some great moments can be also shared via Zoom. So, you know, we want to put them all together and then at the end do something with that as well. But I guess this is actually all for me. So I wish you amazing day and we wish you great festival, lots of great moments. And over to you, Ali.
Okay, thank you, Sasha. Hello everybody, and my name is Elisabetta, and I, as Marshall said before, I will take care of the technical part in this edition of Sistema Europe Youth Orchestra SummerFest. So I will share again the slide here, as you can see, and let me know if you have any problem. I was just about to say, if you as participants or as speakers have any technical questions, requests, or doubts, you can write me to SEYO@sistemaeurope.org, or you can also find me on WhatsApp at the number you can see here on the slide. And I remind you that, as Marshall said at the beginning of this session, all the meetings will be recorded. So those of you who do not want to be recorded must turn off their cameras and microphones. It's, you know, it's a shame about the overall interaction, but I have to say this. And as you can see here, during this edition of SEYO, there will be breakout rooms to encourage brainstorming, dialogue, and mind sharing. And we will also have polls, and we will use Google Documents and Jamboards for note-taking. And last but not least, always remember to keep your microphones off when you're not speaking to avoid unpleasant background noise. And if you don't have any questions, that's all for me. And I will pass the word back to Marshall. So let me know if you want to know something else or.
Great. Thank you very much, Elisabetta. And
welcome.
by the way, yes, if you've got any questions, then please do ask away. I'd like to hand over now to Maria Mano, Sistema Europe Vice President and Treasurer, who has been the most extraordinary, let's say, coordinator of all that's gone on to make these 2 weeks possible. And she was saying that something's been really striking her as she's in the lead up in the last few days and week or so to this project. And I think it would be quite interesting to hear from her as she talks to us about some interesting issues that there are at the moment, which is good for us to focus on. So over to you, Maria.
Thank you so much, Marshall. Yes, it has been very interesting because I think all of us who have to do with music education, cultural and social integration are dealing also as partly as musicians with two very different levels of our activity. On the one hand, music with its detail and its overall concept, and on the other hand, all the time, the real world. And I think in organizing, which all of us do, it's also, as well as in music, it's about the detail and the whole. And what we perceive in ourselves in detail, what we convey to the whole, and also what we perceive of the outside in the whole and pour into the detail of what we do. So the note being as important as the composition, the room that we are in being sometimes as important, but basically less important than the world. And in interacting with this wonderful, wonderful team, because if we do this, it's because we do this with people and for people. We have often said, you know, it's spent time and energy on detail, and then what is happening around us. And Patricia Abdelnour, who is on the board of Sistema Europe, the other day sent some of the pictures that but just circulating internally, some of the pictures that we have been seeing in newspapers, on television, on the net, about what has been happening with climate in the world. And climate environment, we are all working in an environment, and climate is part of the environment. And what we see is these rage of the elements, water, fire, and earth, and are really saying something to us at the moment, we cannot be ignored, right? So, I mean, I am a musician through and through. I dedicate my life to spreading the importance of music. And then on the other hand, we have the importance of something that with 2 seconds can wipe hundreds of lives away, literally, and then can destroy the comfort, the relative and very achieved with a lot of sacrifice, the comfort of so many people. So we are basically all, Marshall asked, where are we now? We're all in rooms fairly comfortable, more or less, you know, in particular, there are people who are on a daily basis, like Andreas from Hanga Musik, who's you know, off and on has been a lot of time in Greece and working in refugee camps, confronting ourselves with the contrast between relative comfort and horrible situations. And so I think it has really informed my thinking. And I wanted to share this with you because I have questions and not answers, really. I have themes in my mind, like earworms that keep at me, you know, when you have this musical tune that keeps nagging at you until another tune comes in. And earworms of ideas that have to be dealt with. And Elisabetta, can you take care of the waiting room when I'm talking? Thank you. And what I wanted to share with you is that we have decided to go away with SummerFest. Even though, Santiago, can you mute? If we have decided to go ahead, in spite of the fact that we had the impression that it was an additional challenge, is because challenge is what it's about. And I think my provisional answer that I wanted to discuss with you is, if we have a challenge in front of us, the one thing we can do in asking ourselves why we do what we do in a relatively fortunate and self-contained way, where music is relatively, let's be saying, a more idyllic environment than many others. Then we have to ask ourselves why. And we have to ask ourselves why and how pretty much every day, I think. And otherwise we are in the wrong position, we are in the wrong job. And what we are trying to achieve, of course, we talk about inclusion and making lives better and transformation and all of that, and this is completely fine. And I think that's in the end why we do it, because we know that it makes a difference. But making a difference means accepting the challenge. And so I remember, you know, a couple of months ago, Board of Sistema Europe said, what do we do? Are we going to do anything at all? Are we going to try and express that there is Sistema Europe because we want to make a difference? Or are we going to play conservatively and wait for things to get better? And then when they get better, it will be easier to do things. And I think implicitly, without discussing it too much between us, we decided challenge is better than no challenge. Courage, relatively, because it's small time courage in comparison to big time courage that other people have to show, is better than just playing safe. And I think the encouragement that I had, and that has been very stimulating and very moving, and at the same time, further challenges, is that everybody who is involved in this panel, in this huge panel of 3 times 2 days, and with so many sessions, it's even a challenge to decide what to attend and to remember what will be there, and also to later to integrate what we will have learned. I think all of us have to be more aware. This has been my earworm, awareness of what is happening. If we see the challenge, we should not look the other way. And I think in terms of what we can do, even though we deal with the, as I said, more idyllic, more soothing, more comforting aspects of playing music together, singing together, and how the children and the families have perceived this as a great asset that they have within themselves, even when they are alone, because music doesn't leave you, and you don't leave music, you can always take it with you. And I would actually love if Andreas said gave a couple of examples, if Marshall agrees, that I would share this time, because we couldn't be sure that Andreas would be with us, so I didn't want to preempt. But I would be most grateful, because he has instead of talking, he has done. Okay, so I think what I would like to leave you with and share with you along these days is that we cannot ignore, we shouldn't look the other way, and challenge is better than no challenge. And I'm sure that you all agree that this is true, but in practice, I think in a way it's also a matter of looking for the challenges and sort of looking under the first layer of the ground or around the corner, what may be waiting, without being afraid that you won't meet the challenge. And I'm very grateful for the STEMA Europe board. I'm very grateful to the staff members who, as I said, in describing them, are afraid of nothing and will take any challenge. And the panelists have done so and are doing and will be doing so much more than what actually one asks for. So going the extra mile, going the extra 10 miles and 100 miles, sometimes very far miles, like Andreas will tell you, then I think the why and how in balancing the detail and the environment and doing everything that we can, I think this would be very much also on the line of José Antonio Abreu, who would not leave stones unturned. And I think we have to take these examples and move them onwards. So thank you very much. I'm sure that I'm speaking not with my ideas, but the ideas of many of you, but I really felt I wanted to put them on the table.
Well articulated there, Maria. That's become our keynote for the week, which I think is fantastic. And actually, Andreas, you are here. I wonder whether you want to just say a few words in response to that.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Marshall. You spoke out of my heart. To make it short, we took violins and cello and went to the most devastating place in Europe at this moment, the refugee camp in Chios, which is an island next to Lesbos. And all the people from NGOs who came from Lesbos to Chios said, we thought we saw the worst, but this is even worse. So what we did is we thought, if these people can't go where Beethoven is played, we bring Beethoven to this place. And it has an impact on the psychological, physical, and social situation on these people who have to suffer hunger, who have to suffer over the winter cold. And you may have seen some pictures of the devastating situations because of the floods in Germany and Belgium in the last days. And these are almost circumstances these people are forced to live in since almost 3 years now. And so we're talking about making music with children. The way we're doing it, we learned it in Venezuela, who, when they leave the room, go into circumstances where you cannot believe how bad it is. I don't know who from you ever had been doing camping or something like this and faced a thunderstorm where the whole camping ground is flooded. And you have to be aware that around this camping ground, all the fields are the toilets. And so just think about the smell. This is more detail you should know, but this is the circumstances we are working in. And to close it with one information, we were working with minors, unaccompanied minors, and they were kept in like special shelters for 1 or 2 years, waiting for their decision. And the moment they get 18, they get their decision, which is negative. Means they have to leave the country right away without any more social support or financial support or food support. So of course they cannot go back to the African country or to the Afghanistan country or wherever. So they are stuck in Greece. They have to go in an illegal situation. And one of these boys who worked with us, who played with us, is now in Athens hiding from the police. And when he sends messages, he always sends the message, I miss the cello. So what I want to tell you is, even if you give a child an instrument once and make it able to play itself a tune, even if it's an open string and a rhythm, it has an impact. And this impact can be a stick which it can hold to in whatever circumstances it will be. Tonight in the session where we show our videos, there will be a 13 seconds video where you will listen to music which was played in springtime in Chios by members of this little string ensemble we founded. And you will see a little film about the circumstances, the conditions. So I can only invite you to come and to see this. And Maria, you're absolutely right. Whatever situation we face, we have to think about why are we doing this? And it's about the music, and it's about the meaning of music, because there is not a single tone which has no meaning. And when you want to face a situation where you really feel what music has as an impact, either you work with what we called people with special needs or disabled people or whatever, or you go to people who are living on the edge, and there is always music. And so therefore it's more important that we have a fine tuning. This is important, of course, to have a fine tuning, but it's more important that it happens in places where you would never expect it. And Jose Antonio Abreu was our big model, because he just went where there was no classical music and said, let's just do it. And don't care about circumstances. And the moment you feel you have good circumstances, you should think about if you're on the right place. Thank you very much.
Andreas and also Maria, thank you so much for that. And I don't know, people may have questions. They may want to talk about this a little, because you've put some really profound things onto the table. I mean, Andreas, I'm interested. It's so different when you work with people in where you live, or in your area, or your city, or your region. When you go somewhere, when you go as many miles as kilometers as you went, and I'm very interested, how was the reception? Did you have to persuade people? Because it's one of the things that's often talked about, that in areas of real conflict, can music go into these places? And I'm interested in what the reaction was of the children, but I can imagine that, but also those who are in the administrative areas. I mean, is that quite a struggle, or is it something you had to push through, or were you open? Were you welcomed with open arms?
It depends. Let's put it that way. Greece makes it very difficult for NGOs to work there. One NGO we are collaborating with just learned from the papers yesterday that there will be a court trial against them, because they received phone calls from people who tried to, who came on the boat to Chios, and they called this NGO. And because they called them, they are now may face a trial because of trafficking. So this is a serious thing. So what we are facing here is two sides of the world. We are facing authorities who want to make your life as impossible as possible. And on the other hand, the moment we could start doing our work, and of course, you come there and you say, I want to make music from Bach, Beethoven with these children. People look at you and say, what, excuse me? But we had teachers from schools, we had helpers from NGOs, we had even a policeman who joined our program because he said, this is important that you do this. And there was this one thing, this policeman was part of the riot police in the camp of Yal. But the riot police is not allowed to enter the school area. And as we rehearsed in the school area, he wasn't allowed to come to the rehearsal because he would have to register as a volunteer for an NGO. And this he couldn't by professional reasons. So it's the only area where the police is not allowed to come in. And it was also important to have a situation where also the police is kind of faced with a situation, oh, we can't do everything here, because often they think they can. And so we had mothers, we had fathers who wanted to participate from children. So the response at the end is very positive. And I want to tell you another story. More than 30 years ago, I was with the Ensemble Modern, which is a German contemporary music ensemble. We had been in former USSR, like what Russia was before, this big Soviet Union. And it was the first time people in Siberia heard the music, German contemporary music played by Helmut Lachenmann or Heiner Goebbels. And the interesting thing is, they didn't need any explanation. After the concert, there was a discussion. And these people just told out of their guts, out of their imagination, what they heard. And it was the perfect analysis of this kind of music. So you don't need knowledge. What you need is openness, and you need just the willing to be part of a group. And as musicality is part of our human being, if we wouldn't be musically, we could not speak. We would speak like robots. We could not have any kind of communication. This is about tonality. This is about rhythm, every kind of speaking. So when we bring music and organized music, let's put it that way, in a camp like this, we bring in a structure which doesn't exist there normally, outside of the structure where people have needs. Food, also the schooling is about mathematics, English, and Greece. This is all they get. There is nothing where people can just be people, to be themselves among a group without having to do something to have a test afterwards or something like this. So what we brought actually humanity. And the moment someone experienced it, even the people who were a bit resisting before, it's like snow melting in the sun. But of course, it's chaos. It's impossible. But this is what it is. You have to make the impossible possible. And there is no model for it. But therefore, all the workshops we can have this week or this next 2 weeks are very good to give you models, to give you tools. Because in this chaos, of course, you need tools, you need some experience, you need some things to do, but you cannot rely on a model. But you need everything which is in your toolbox. And if you have a toolbox, you're most welcome to fill it in this week with much more information. But I can only encourage you, the moment you see a situation where you could do something and you hesitate, just go for it. And because this is what we faced. We faced, oh, you can't do this here because you have to have this permission, you have to have this permission, you have to have this permission. And so we looked to find a way to make it possible in another way. So it's about 90% organization and 10% making music, and if you have 12% music, you are happy. But the tune of a child, which you know is normally not having a warm meal every day, and the smile is a good payback for that. And that's what we do. We give, yeah, like this little boy, we give them a cello, and even if he doesn't has it anymore, he can dream of it, and this helps him go through very, very hard times. And so we have these two worlds. And what Maria said perfectly, it's about what we have, and there is a reality, there is a real world. And there is no sense putting Beethoven under World Heritage listed if it's not possible to play it anywhere in the world, and anywhere in Europe at least. And so this is our duty. And it's not about Beethoven. It can be the Beatles, it can be Britney Spears. I don't care what kind of music it is, but it's about making music together in circumstances where people have a dignity and have a right to have a life. And if they don't have the circumstances to have a life, the moment you bring them music, they have a life. And this is the definition of Abreu about poverty. The moment someone holds an instrument, he is not poor anymore. Doesn't matter in which circumstances he lives. And we took this and took it to the edge of Europe.
Andreas, thank you for those words. You remind me of that saying of Maestro Abreu: the planning is the doing, and that we're so used to in Europe, what I always say, drowning in process. And I'm sure for the rest of you, it's a similar thing. But when I went to Venezuela, I learned to do it rather than to plan to do it, and in doing it to work that out. And as you say, it can't just be about Beethoven. So these are amazing words of inspiration, actually, if I may say. I don't know whether anybody, if you want to kind of chip in on this, please do. But I mean, you've given an incredible start to this week, actually, which is really profound and which really reminds us why we're doing this, why we're here. And Andreas, your work serves particularly as that example to just do it.
Yes,
so thank you for that.
Anywhere, not only in EOS, anywhere.
Yeah, no, but it's truly inspiring that to say that. It actually feels like a really good segue, actually, to go on now to kind of look in a little bit more detail at what we do have coming and what we can use in the next 2 weeks to acquire those skills, the toolbox, the toolkit you're talking about. And I'd like to ask Etienne Abelin from our board, who has heroically been putting together a lot of the things that you're going to see and hear and watch and take part in and be in the next 2 weeks, to maybe just give us a kind of quick run through. What can we expect? What's going to happen now? What's in the brew? Etienne, over to you.
Thank you, Marshall, and also from my side, thank you, Andreas, and thank you, Maria. This was very moving, and it really sort of gives a dimension of a depth on what we're trying to do here. And I'd like to ask Elisabetta to start some slides, and I'll just run through some of the sessions. And you've seen most of these. And I'd just like to say a few additional things to it. I think all of us here in that call, or almost all of us, know Juan Carlos Machorani of Sistema Portugal. He helped co-found Sistema Europe Youth Orchestra and has been one of the solid rocks and always moving, inspiring rocks of SEYO and of the European Sistema world. And I'm extremely happy that he will start this week after this hour, right, in 20 minutes, with something that he's been working on for a while, and I'm very curious where it's gotten us. He's thinking about repertoire, about unifying repertoire, about finding a way of coordinating things between countries, and I'm very excited about that. Elisabetta, next. And then we'll have some fun with a Celtic folk music percussion workshop this afternoon. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I think it's going to be great. Next. So Roberts Balanas will do a pop music workshop. Roberts is an absolutely brilliant young violinist who started doing covers for solo violin of pop songs, and has sort of stormed YouTube. When he did an Elton John song, Elton John himself shared it with his community because he thought it was so brilliant. I love the Billie Eilish song he does, and I think it's fantastic that he's joining us and doing a pop music workshop. He's taking a pop song, one of the season's hits, and will work on that in 2 workshops, and then cut a video and present that at the end of the 2-week session that we have. Next. Pat, our board member, will do an introduction to El Sistema, and don't have anything to add to that. I think it'll be fantastic. Today we have the stage. I'm going to host a few performances that were recorded over the last few months, over the last year. Some during the pandemic, over Zoom, some not. And there'll be contributions by, from Wales, Finland, Greece, as Andreas said, Italy, Portugal and Turkey, and we have some special guests from a number of these countries who are going to talk about what they did and talk about these videos. So grab a glass of whatever and join us for the stage. World Ensemble Day tomorrow. Don't have to say very much. Eric and Trisha are gonna do a very interactive session with lots of breakout rooms and polls, and it's gonna be certainly one of the highlights. By the way, the stage session tomorrow night is not going to take place. We're concentrating everything tonight. We have two important sessions on Friday morning. And Marshall, would you want to say a few words about these two, child safety session and DEI session that comes right after that on Friday morning?
Yeah, I could do. I mean, I think we're all aware of the incredible importance of safeguarding, and whenever any issues arise, as maybe have arisen recently about that, it makes us realize that this is something you can't just write a safeguarding policy and put it down. Sistema Europe has its own policy, which I have to thank Sistema England for, because in a large part it came from theirs, and it's pages long and it's very serious and very thoughtful. But actually, this is a thing we have to revisit constantly. And it's fantastic that we have these two guest speakers who come from child safety organizations, particularly involved in ensuring no sexual exploitation of young people. And I think it was felt really important that we got some outside people to really come in and talk with us about how they approach this. Our board member, Werner Kaunisto, is going to moderate that session. And I really encourage everybody to come and be part of that, because I think, as we know, from everything that Andreas was saying, there's no point to it if it's not about making sure that young people are safe. And from the most challenging situations to the most normal situations, we know there's this experience that the power which is invested in those who run organizations and teaching those, we have to ensure that we're always on our guard and careful to make sure that we're doing the best for young children and people, and not in any way exploiting. So I can't recommend that child safety session too much. And I think also you'll get some very interesting outside views from others about it. Thanks, Etienne. I think you're still muted, Etienne.
Yes, you're right. Thank you, Marshall. On the next session, DEI, maybe Maria can say something. Maria, if you're back on the call, because Maria's going to host that one. Let me see if Maria is here.
I am on the call, but I am not visible because I am moving, but moving from one room to the next. Yes, so we will be discussing in terms of diversity with one man and one woman, what the themes of diversity, equality, inclusion, integration, focusing on diversity. And I have to thank Etienne for putting us in contact with Kevin Edusei from Berlin, and we also Jennifer Sturm, who participates in programs on several continents and has initiated the Illumina program in Brazil, which will also be part of a further session in the week. So I think it will be a very good occasion to develop some of the themes that we talked about today.
Wonderful, thank you, Maria. And we have only a few minutes left, so we're going to run through these quickly. conducting workshop with Sasha Godzill, fantastic. Sasha is a wonderful conductor, conducting everywhere on highest professional level, and this is going to be fun. I had a workshop at the El Sistema Academy in Sweden last year, and it was great. So everybody should join that. This one is also one I'm particularly happy to have. Evan Mccarello is an American conductor and pedagogue, and he's going to do a piece that we all play together on Zoom. It's a piece by Dai Fujikura, who is a great composer who wrote this piece particularly for Zoom during the pandemic. And we're going to do this together. Q&A with Dame Evelyn Glennie. Nothing to add. It's going to be beautiful. What's next? Yes. So this is interesting. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, as we have here, they are increasingly driving global development decisions. And the interesting question is, how does the work we are doing play into these? And Tricia Tunstall and Peter Nicholson are going to talk about that and going to discuss that. It's going to be an interactive session with everybody participating. Yeah, we don't really have the time to go into that, but this is something that has developed recently and is going to be fascinating. Francis Gagliardi is going to talk mostly to teachers about keeping attention in the classroom, a topic that we all know about, and that is always on our minds when we are in classrooms. And we have one or two more things. Geza Silva is a special guest. He's the developer of the color strings method. So this is for string teachers mostly. Mr. Silva is also the president of the European String Teachers Association, and we're particularly proud and happy to have him join us in week 2. Taru Nigard is talking about working with young people with special needs, and also that is going to be an interactive session. She's going to involve people in that, and hopes for having lots of people with some experience in this field. And I'm very curious about that one. Carlo Tafuri is another rock in the Sistema Europe Youth Orchestra world. I think he's been at every single one, being a fantastic teacher, and he has a background in Suzuki teaching, so this is for string teachers again. And his topic is how to integrate Suzuki approaches in the Sistema type ensemble learning that we do. And then there's a closing session with a very special guest, Marin Alsop, and it's great that we have her. And I think we're more or less at the time that we have a short break before Juan starts his session. So I give back the word to Marshall.
Thank you very much, Etienne. That's fantastic. So I think that gives a little bit of variety we've got coming this coming week. And
actually, I forgot your session. I forgot your session. Say something about your session. Fine.
So I think it's on Friday. Is it 4:30, 5:30? I can't even remember properly. I'm doing a management session, which is it's an unusual one. Sistema surgery. The idea is anybody who wants comes to the session, and in advance, if you want, bring what are your management challenges? What are you trying to solve? What's difficult? What are the knots? What can't you manage to do? Have you got the right board? Is fundraising working? How is your team going? All of those kinds of things. And in which case, if you bring those, we're then going to actually, I'm not going to be talking about this, we're going to be doing it. It's a good example of the planning is the doing. We'll set off into groups, and each problem that we have, each management problem, will take half an hour or so, and we'll solve it, and then we'll move forwards. So I look forward to that. Anybody who's got any challenge in terms of management, email me, and we'll help find a solution to it. Thank you very much, Etienne, for remembering that. Look, we probably should move on. We'd like to spend a little bit of time in between sessions. I see that Juan Majorani is with us, but he's going to be doing the next session. So I advise everybody, take 5 minutes. Thank you so much, Maria and Etienne and Andreas, for the really inspiring words this morning. I can't think of a better start for the week. So thank you all. It's been great to see you, and see you at the next sessions coming up. Keep well and keep safe.